How you doing, folks? Welcome back to episode 6, I think, of the DadBodBible Real Men Talk, where I speak to guys that I like to talk to, who I feel have got something to say and it's worth hearing. Today, I've got an MMA fighter from Ireland, Benjamin Davis. And how are you keeping, mate? How's life going with you?
I am very good, brother. Nice to finally get on your podcast,
Yeah.
Nice to finally talk to you.
Yeah, so you've someone I've actually followed, someone I respect quite a lot in the MMA scene. You seem to have sort of my ethos when it comes to martial arts, and I think it's something that MMA has lost its way in. I think MMA used to be a traditional style, let's say when I was doing it, when I started out, back in the beginning, it was like you're a karate guy, you're a kickboxer, you're a Muay Thai, whatever. Let's see who's the best, and then it slowly merged. But I think as it merged and it became its own identity, I think the actual martial art of it has sort of been lost, as opposed to the sport and the business side of it. And I I follow you regularly. I would listen to you. You're actually one of the few people I would listen to properly when you come on Facebook or your posts, because you're very much in tune with how I believe. I don't maybe voice it the way you do, but your beliefs are very much in tune with how I believe. So how did you get involved in martial arts in the first place?
I think I think I was introduced to fear from an early age. Like, I grew up in Bristol, England, in a rough neighborhood, and the things that happened to me, yourself, in Northern Ireland, because I half grew up in Northern Ireland as well, so I had that kind of experience as well as a young man. But I just think fear, that's what got me into martial arts. Like, I grew up where on the streets it's all about respect, and respect is through fear. That's ultimately what it was like. So I was always looking to learn how to protect myself. I started karate when I was young. My uncle, he was my Irish uncle, he taught me how to fight, because my dad died when I was young, so I never had that male figure behind me. I kind of felt like I was alone, especially when I moved to Northern Ireland. I was kind of like a mixed race kid, stuck in between the troubles that was going on over there. It was like,
what religion here?
I was about 10.
And what age? How old are you now?
I'm 35 now.
35. So you're 25 years ago.
Yeah. So I've lived in Ireland most of my life now. Half my family's from here, and my mum moved us from Bristol to get away from the drugs and the flipping crime and all that stuff over there. So, but she moved us into Fermanagh, Enniskillen,
here it's a beautiful
Northern Ireland.
Tell you what, see somewhere like Fermanagh, when you'll never appreciate it as a kid, but as an adult, Fermanagh's stunning. It's one of the most beautiful counties.
It's one of the most beautiful counties in the country, man. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. Yeah.
I would like to go down there, and so I'd be somewhere I'd like to retire, just that visual. So you're probably like me, you like nature and you like that sort of connection. You seem to have this very earthly connection with things, and yin and yang type of philosophy, which I'd be very much a believer in. How do you think MMA has evolved from when you started to today?
As you said at the start there, before you had these karate guys or the jiu-jitsu guys and boxers, and then it was then people realized you had to be more well-rounded. So I just see today, I think it's still evolving, but I think today is just more well-rounded. You don't really specifically have many specialists anymore. You just have more well-rounded people, like your Mighty Mouses and stuff like that. People that just, their aim is not, I'm going to knock you out in this fight. Their aim is, I'm going to punch you, to grapple with you, to submit you, or if you end up back on your feet, we're back punching again. It's kind of just, I think it's just evolving, and I think it will continue to evolve. I think in jiu-jitsu, the way leg locks have taken over in jiu-jitsu, I think maybe we'll start seeing that in MMA, where you'll get your Gary Tonan's gone into one championship now, and I think leg locks is.
Do you think leg locks are not a risky move in MMA when someone can punch the head? It's a sacrifice.
I was taught that way. I was taught with that ethos. It was don't go for a leg lock, you get punched in the face. But now, I feel that there's a time to go for them, and there's a time when you should bail on them. I think Steve McComb in my fight, like he rolled in for the leg lock against me when I fought him, and I knew he was good at leg locks because he submitted my old teammate Tim Murphy
With the
with a knee
best
bar.
leg lock I have ever seen in my
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
That
flying
was
knee
the tie
bar.
clinch, wasn't it? That was the tie
Yeah,
clinch
yeah,
roll. Oh
yeah.
my God, that was the best. That was the best submission I'd seen in years.
Yeah, so I fought Steve after he beat Tim, and so I just knew like that he was gonna be diving for my leg. So I ground and pounded him when he went for the leg lock. So that's when he kind of held on a bit too long for them, you know, even though he's a tough head on him, man. Like he didn't quit.
Taz, I trained with Taz. He fought with Davy for years, and
Yeah,
he was always in the leg locks. I think his size, he's a small guy, so he is, and he's
yeah,
just able to get into those movements quickly. He was very explosive,
yeah, yeah. He was
but
very strong, man. I
very
remember
tough.
when he grabbed my ankle, I was like, you shouldn't be like putting that much pressure on my ankle from this position. But yeah, he's very strong.
How long have you been fighting?
MMA, like I think I was chatting with my wife about this when she was asking me, someone asked her how long I'd been fighting, and I was like, I don't know, man. It's like, when you're kids, I was like, you think of how old your kids now. I was fighting in so many years before that. I think about 13 years maybe, MMA.
And who did you start out with, and where did you start?
I started with Mark Leonard at Point Blank Submissions in Galway.
Okay, that where you
Yeah,
started.
but actually before that, I started in Gloucester range fighters over in England because I moved away from England. I was in a bit of a bad place in my life at that time, like, and just lost, and but I was training over there. I was kind of planning on going into professional boxing, and then I had gone training with a friend of mine, Shay Mills, you might know Shay he was in the UFC.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
Cage
okay,
Warrior
yes,
champion.
yes.
Yeah, so Shay was a good friend of mine, and he knew I was a boxer and all this stuff, and I worked with him doing security, and he said to me, "Oh, do you want to come sparring with a lot of MMA fighters?" So I just started going sparring, and yeah, I got introduced to grappling then. I realized how, Jesus, I don't know anything about fighting. Anything I thought I knew. And then yeah, I went started training with him in Gloucester Range Fighters and under Mark the Wizard Weir. Um yeah, and yeah, that was it. I wasn't training properly then. I was still, as I say, I was lost. I was more partying and doing some other stuff.
Hey, listen, we've been
Yeah,
there, some of us still are.
yeah, man. That's how I got into it. And then I moved back I realized, as I say, I was down the wrong path then, and I had an experience that awoke me, and I kind of, yeah, as I say, I learned from the karma of my life of what shaped me and made me go down certain ways, and I realized that fighting and fear, my battle with fear, was like something that was a route that I had to kind of go down. And fighting I seen as a way I could help people was through fighting. I could inspire people, and then I could help them overcome their battle with fear, because fear is not necessarily a negative thing. I just find fear, like, over not succumbing to fear, is when it becomes negative. And I think fear can teach us a lot.
Fear keeps us
Yeah,
alive. It's a
yeah,
natural
exactly.
instinct. It's for people to say I'm not scared is stupid. But
Yeah,
fear's natural. But what courage is, as far as I'm concerned, is doing it in the presence of fear anyway.
yeah, man. Yeah,
You fear something, you're scared of it, but you don't allow it to overcome you, and you take that step. And
yeah,
you might fail, you might succeed. It doesn't matter. But the very fact that you've taken that step towards overcoming it means even if you don't succeed in the outcome, you've still succeeded in a certain way because you took steps that most people won't. And I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's what people need to start looking at intrinsically. You seem to be a very introspective person. You seem to
yeah,
go inside yourself an awful lot. I'm not saying, because you're always cautious about religion and this thing, but
yeah.
your spiritual beliefs, what would they be? They seem like very like Buddhist to me, almost like a sort of.
Yeah, like I don't, I think, like, again, like, words, I'm careful about what words I use because I'm like, I was raised atheist for one because of my Northern Irish family, and they were just done with religion. They moved to England to get away from all the shit, like, and for work, like, but So I was raised very atheist, but I kind of, as I said, I awoke, and when I awoke, there was I realized that like, I don't like to say the word God. I said it in a fight one time, you know, but really, like, my view of God is just a greatness. Yes,
Universe.
the universe, exactly.
Yes.
You know, and like, we're but like thoughts. Like, each one of us, our energy form is literally like a thought of God.
Oh, you
Do
and
you
I are
get
going to
me?
get on so well here, mate. I'm
Yeah,
telling you, because I'm a DMT head. I've done DMT so many times in
yeah,
my life. I've experienced the fifth dimension. I've met the entities.
yeah,
I'm doing
man.
ayahuasca soon. You know, I'm big into
Oh,
that journey.
wicked.
I'm big into the
Yeah.
spiritual journey. And I was atheist. I was like, fuck Jesus, fuck God, fuck us all. I hate us all. Go fuck yourself. That's who I was. Like, because I
Yeah,
just can't stop it. What I realized I hated was it wasn't God, shall we say, but it was more the people who represented God, like the DUP.
yeah,
I call them the
yeah,
Pharisees of
yeah,
the Christians today, because they like to profess their love of God, but they don't act
yeah,
Christ-like. And I've always said, see if someone believes like it's Christian and they act Christ-like they act the way Jesus taught. I
yeah,
respect them so much, because the teachings of Jesus is actually, if you take away the woo-woo stuff and you
yeah,
actually just listen to what the words are, it's a declaration of how to live. You
yeah,
know,
exactly.
the wording and what he says is very
Yeah,
intelligent. It's just that I think it's been manipulated, and this has taken me
yeah,
years of. I was a turbo Catholic. You know, I was an altar boy. I was
yeah,
born into that, and then I started questioning things, and no one gave me an answer. And I
yeah.
started and then I can remember actually getting detention in third year, I think it was, Miss McBride.
We're
Miss
asking
McBride,
questions.
yeah, for asking a simple
Yeah,
question, and I got detention, and that was she was the reason why I became atheist. Her
yeah,
refusal to actually articulate an answer that could be explained to someone my age. I was only 12 or 13.
yeah,
She started me on the journey of this is not right.
yeah,
There's something not right. And from that point, I became atheist. But then I done DMT. I started doing lots of drugs, acid, mushrooms, and I started
yeah.
seeing these things, and it just,
They're spirit plants. They're not drugs. They're
yeah,
spirit
well, yeah,
plants.
you know something. Actually, as joking you say, you're
Yeah,
100% right. They're not drugs.
yeah,
They're
man.
because if you live in the Amazon, they're
Yeah,
medicine.
yeah.
It's the
That's
culture we live
exactly
in
what they are. Yeah,
today. The
yeah,
culture we live in today, the governments who do not want us to be awoke, who do not want
yeah,
us to see these things and to question,
yeah.
they demonize them. They call them drugs. They
That's why
say
they're illegal. Yeah, that's why they're
yes.
illegal. Yeah,
It's like drinks legal. Why is drink legal? Why is
yeah,
tobacco legal? Because
yeah.
they suppress your vibrations. Do you
They
know?
keep you there. They keep you locked down
Yeah,
into that lower chakra. Yeah,
exactly,
man.
exactly. I
Stuck
think
on the great wheel.
we're going to have a good talk here today, boy. I'm
Yeah,
telling you, this is going to
yeah,
go down. This is not going to be about
yeah,
MMA.
yeah, man.
We'll try. We're definitely going to come back to this subject because I really want to talk about it, but
Yeah,
someone who has an alternative view as opposed to getting fucked up, dude. Because
yeah,
I would never do them to get fucked up. I did when I was
yeah,
younger,
yeah.
but
Me
now
too.
I would do them only if it's so. If I want a message, if I've got an answer, if I've got a question, I would take DMT. I would take
Yeah.
mushrooms, and I
You don't
wouldn't.
mess with mushrooms, man, because like, yeah, you're not like, oh, I'm just gonna go and take some mushrooms, man. You'd be like, oh shit, I didn't want him to go there.
Listen, I
I didn't
have
want to
been
address their
there.
problem.
I have been there. I've also I've also been in a place where I've done acid one time.
Yeah.
It must have been last year actually. But we've done acid, and we thought it'd be a great idea to get into the hot tub in a lightning storm. And we're sitting in the hot tub in a lightning storm, and there's satellite dishes flying above our heads and trees.
Yeah.
And we're just going, this is awesome, isn't it? And
You
then
might have seen my post there like a few weeks ago about me getting lost in the woods. Well, I've done some mushrooms and I went for a walk in the woods, right? And I basically thought, okay, I had my dog with me, and I was like, I was just so like taken in by all the little the spirals, you know, like the Celtic
yeah,
spirals.
yeah.
Everything was connected, and I just seen these spirals for everything. And I was like, I just follow Zulu, my dog. I was like, I let him lead me. Like, so I just let the dog lead me. He was following deer or something, I don't know. And I was just, I did not know which way was which, and oh my God. And then I went down into the lower vibrations.
You're hugging a
And then I
tree.
was like, yeah, but I learned a lot. You have to die, man. I died in that woods, man. And I was like, I learned about so I was stuck in bog up into my knees, and I was just worrying about people worrying about where I was, and ringing the guards or something to try and find me. And I was like, come on, Ben, just breathe. That again, back to martial arts, man. I was like, breathe. So I just controlled my breathing, just because I couldn't think. I was panicking. And then I was like, all right, water, like water only flows downhill. And I was stuck to my knees of water. So I kind of just, I climb uphill, and then I could see better than, even though it was pitch black at night. And then,
Fuck, it was night.
yeah, it was pitch black. Yeah. Oh man.
Any grams you take?
Yeah, and then I found like a familiar spot. Like I found like there's these posts in the woods beside us. It's a big deciduous forest, lovely, and but there's these pillars so that people can navigate in the woods. Like, and I found one of them, and I was like, that was like the sparkle of hope for me. I was like, oh my God, this is a familiar sight. But yeah, and then I kind of found a light. I followed this light, and it led me to a farmhouse, and I remember like finding the fence. This farm was like fortified, and I was like thinking, oh my God, I don't want to scare these farmers, get shot or something, like black man with a big white dog coming out.
Don't be alarmed, we're Negroes. Like bad boys.
Yeah, so I was like trying to sneak outside the like light spectrum so they didn't see me, like, and yeah, but it was great experience.
Have you tried ayahuasca or DMT?
No, DMT, yeah. Ayahuasca, I really would love to try that. Like,
we're going to do it as soon as lockdown's over. We're booked in to do it.
Yeah,
Myself and my partner. I've been saving. Like what I do is every year I put a jar out, and if I spend money, I put the pound coins and £5 notes and 50p's into a jar, and then the year I just use that, and the two of us use that. We're going to use that to do a trip or something, rather than buy ourselves a Christmas present.
Yeah,
we just use that to have an experience. So this experience is going to be we're going to be ayahuasca, and we want to do the ayahuasca journey, and I want to do 3 journeys of it and see, because I've done DMT well over 150 times. Countless times. I've done it so many times, and every time
it's not long enough though, is it? It's like DMT is like boom, you're somewhere else, and then you're kind of coming back. But ayahuasca is meant to be like similar but long. It's
apparently
more.
Apparently she's meant to knock Mother Ayahuasca is meant to knock the bollocks out of you the first trip. She said.
Yeah.
So I'm interested. Like, I'm dreading the first journey big time, but I suppose if I'm dreading it, then I'm putting it out there to the universe, and I'm going to get that back for all.
Yeah.
One thing I learned about DMT is it really exposes you to understanding that you are not in control of anything. Control is an illusion. Like when DMT wants to take you where it wants to take you, you have to go, and if you resist, it's going to be even worse.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned from it, and I've had some profound experiences. Like, I had one really, really, really crazy experience, and it was horrific, but it was one of the most enlightening experiences. About 2 weeks later, I realized what the message was. For anyone who hasn't done DMT, there always seems to be a message contained within the journey. And I don't care what anyone says, you do go to a different dimension. Like, I don't know who you've met, but I met a wee Hindu dude. I always meet this wee Hindu guy that I used to be tiny guy beard, and I meet a ball of light. And I know she's a feminine entity. I don't know I've never seen her, but I know she's feminine. And she always seems to guide me. And I meet this jester guy. He's a really malevolent. I don't like him. Every time I meet him, he freaks me out. He does trick. He plays my mind, and it's like it's almost like there's bad intentions behind him or something. I don't know what it is, but when I meet him, I feel this fear. And then I end up disappearing from him, and so a lot of times I'll come out of it. But there's this one time I took it, and I lost in the trip. I lost everything. I was lying on the floor naked in my bedroom, and I'm not going to mention names, but there's a well-known, for something like this is crazy, there was a well-known local personal trainer was commentating on my trip, and it was like had all these things like on top of me. There was hundreds of them, and they were all filming me, and I was being cast out to social media everywhere, and everyone, all my friends, all my members, all my family could see this happening. And then my parents came along, and they held me up, and they took me away. And my ex-partner, the mother of my children, she was holding my kids behind her back and she was shaking her head really angry at me. And I was trying to cry, will you let me see my kids? And they wouldn't. And then I woke out of the trip and I started freaking out. And I looked through my phone and I was waiting to see all these messages from the ex going, oh, I am in so much shit here, fucking lose the kids.
Yeah.
It took me about 10 minutes to realize I was still actually tripping and I wasn't even out of the trip yet. That was just me tripping. And then I came out of the trip and I was like, oh, sweet fucking Jesus, thank God that's over. And I was near crying. It was horrific. But then I realized the message was that I was spending so much time on social media that I was at risk of losing everything.
Yeah.
You know, and it helped me get off the addiction of social media to a point where I could control it. Because at that point, I think I was desperate to get my business built up and all this shit was happening in my life. And there was a lot of bad things happening. And it was just overwhelming me. So although it was a horrific experience, it was a life-changing experience.
Yeah, it does that. You never know what you're gonna get. Like, it kind of, as you say, you're not in control.
No.
I do think you can control it though. Like when I was doing DMT one time, because I wasn't in control so many times, I thought when I did it first, I was like, I'm gonna control this and see, like, and I basically did. And I kind of controlled where my intentions were, you know, where it was taking me. And I also learned to think, I managed to, like, because it's such a short experience with the DMT, like maybe 10 minutes, I was able to prolong it. Like, and it made me think about, so basically while I was in, it showed me like a position that I could put my body in, almost like a yoga position, you know, where it would open up my pineal gland, you know, my mind's eye. And I was able to stay in that consciousness, in that higher vibration for longer. And I was able to, like, even come out of it and then go back into it, maybe like write stuff down that I was thinking, you know. So I do think you can. I think, again, people, like, I think we've lost abilities. Hindus, you're talking about Hindus would do all the mantras, the chanting and stuff. And I think these are all like tools. The spirit plants are a tool to straight away, boom, hit that crown chakra. But there's other tools out there, like the chanting, you know, breathing. And martial arts. Even martial arts it breaks down the ego. It brings you into the present, you know, because you can't be thinking about the future or the past when you're being punched in the face or somebody's trying to choke you unconscious.
I spoke about that yesterday about it with Andy Burroughs. It's exactly, it's meditative, movement meditation.
Yeah, it's completely, it's, they're like a code, a break in the code that breaks through this matrix, you know, and then opens you up to the higher dimensions.
Okay, so let me bring it down a rabbit hole then.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any possibility that this could be a matrix we're living in?
Yeah. Like, like you have to, like, if you've done DMT and stuff like that and mushrooms, then it is almost like you sometimes think, like, geez, I could be sitting in a 5 by 5 foot square room, like here, you know, like. And
have you used VR? Have you used the VR headset, the proper VR headset?
Like that.
Like the Quest, Oculus Quest. I've got an Oculus Quest, and between using that and doing the DMT, mushrooms, acid, and all, I'm starting to believe it's so very easy to, like, when I'm in that VR system, I've punched walls because I don't even realize I'm so enthralled with the boxing game that I forget where I am. The next thing you know, and there was one time I was playing Beat Saber, and this big block came at me, and I turned and was like, and I thought I was, but I was so in the zone that when it hit me, it was like how I expected I'd feel when if a bus ever killed me. And I had to take the VR off and just sit down and go, oh, because my heart was beating, because I was scared, because I was that involved in that moment in time. This reality here I live in did not exist. The only reality was where I was where my mind was. And it makes me nice. I know it sounds like, what if no one's ever done DMT or anything, they're looking at me going, what is he talking about? But when you've been to a different dimension through the spirit medicines, like, it makes you realize what we see is limited by our ability to see. Like birds,
senses, the 5 senses, like the 5 senses, they kind of limit what you see. You get me? Like, you know, like if a dog is following, like the other day, right? When I was in the woods walking my dog was like flipping so enthralled in his sniffing stuff that I seen a flock of deer running past me. And I was like, oh, and like took him about, I don't know, 2 minutes before they'd already gone. He's like, he's looking around thinking, I could smell deer somewhere here. Do you know, like, whereas I'm caught up in my visual senses and he's caught up in his nose, like that. We're both missing out on
But
so
you look at
much.
the light
Where
spectrum. The light
this is
spectrum
the
this
one.
size, and we see this much, you know. So
Yeah.
what else do we not see?
Yeah.
You know, and we live in the third dimension, as I say. So
Yeah.
like,
But that's why the mind's eye, that's the one that sees more. And we are kind of, I think humankind is, we're kind of starting to wake up a bit now to these things. Like, as you say, we were like atheists, and then suddenly it's like humans are starting to wake up.
And I think a lot of people are like this, because I'm talking to a lot of people who are atheists, and they're all, now they don't believe in Jesus God, they believe religion, in a God. Yeah. It's like, I don't think there's religion is a man-made thing. Spirituality is a human thing.
Yeah, it's like esoteric knowledge is inner knowledge.
Yeah.
Exoteric is what religion is. It's like somebody who is an esoteric teacher teaching you wisdom comes along like Jesus and says all this stuff, and then they don't want all the inner stuff, they just want like the outer stuff. It's kind of like science, matter. I think science is now going more inner, like what you're saying about the universe and quantum stuff. Realm. Like you have science is kind of going down that way now, and they're researching more into the non-physical rather than just the material.
Well, the CIA released articles in 2007, I think it was, or they released them recently from 2007, where they actually come out and admit that they have a way to control the fifth dimension. So the CIA have actually admitted this, and yeah, I've read the articles. So, you know, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff, and look, they're going to expose the UFO stuff recently. They're more you can see the tabloids all dipping into the UFO, trying to water us down and sort of dilute the fears going to come along, because Trump put it into his executive order, something that they would have to expose all UFO things by 180 days after he signed it. So that I think that was like 60 days ago. So I think it's June that the Pentagon has to release a lot of UFO stuff. So I'll be interested to see that, because there's no way in a universe where there's more planets than there are grains of sand on this earth that we can be the only intelligent species.
Yeah. Like scientifically, it's silly to even think it like, but like as I say, I think we're talking about dimensions. Like I see these things, like you say, when you're in DMT and you're seeing these beings and things like that. I don't think it's necessarily traveling from there to there. It's traveling in, like, there's, I don't know, time and space.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you a story about one of the DMT trips I had, which was very intrinsic. Sorry, let me excuse me from my voice.
Yeah.
I took it, and whatever happened was there was a crazy experience, right? But I was floating. If you imagine like in water, okay, but the water was only like about this thick. And I was suspended in the middle of it. So the back of me and the front of me were not in the water. It was only the middle of me. There was this like sort of watery, but it wasn't water. It was vibration. I know it sounds crazy, but you might understand if you've done DMT. There was this vibrational energy that seemed like rippling like water. And I was half in, half out. So my head could breathe. The back of me was dry, but the middle of me was sort of surrounded in this. And this entity said to me, you need to come. Now, by the way, the entity, I need to explain this, was me. The entity was the cosmic me. It was the greater me. The higher me. I knew, intrinsically, I knew I am talking to me.
Yeah.
And the me was telling me that in order for me to get further in this journey, I had to let go of my children. And I couldn't do it. And there was the outer me is going, Paul, they're not your children. You need to understand, you need to let go of this belief that they're your children. You don't own them. No one owns you. No one owns them.
Yeah.
You're merely a guide. They have chose, just like you chose to be here. They have chosen to be here. And you're merely the vessel they got here. And your job is to guide them and to try to help them on this journey, but they're not yours. And the minute you accept that, and I fought this battle, and this seemed like about an hour, but I kept fighting and it was like resisting. And then I just said, I submitted it, and I was like, okay, right, they're not mine. I accept, I let go of them. They're not mine. And next thing I was like, whoom, down this massive vortex. and I was traveling down these circles, and then I came out into this river in a boat, and it was like the Amazon, and there was like these silhouettes. The sun was setting, and there were silhouettes of like trees and big like brush and bushes, and I was floating down this river of vibration and frequency on this boat, and there was temples, and there was pyramids, and there was a big massive Buddha, but it was a really crazy, and the whole experience for me was like understanding that I was talking to me. There's another part of me somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that sounds crazy to people who've never done this yet, and they're probably turned off by now. But it was a very, very profound experience in my life, and it had massive changes for me, the way I thought of things.
Yeah.
I think people need to understand, like, this is medicine. This is proper, like all medicine's got risks, and you shouldn't just jump into it and take it and go, whoa. It's not a drug to be abused.
Yeah.
But it's something that can definitely help people with their journeys and their questions in life.
Yeah, and what you just said there about your kids, that you realize you didn't own them and that they chose to come here. I've had the same experiences, and this is the type of thing, when you think of things rationally, scientifically, how do people come to the same realizations, have these same experiences? And when you look at people that have done DMT or people that are just in yogis or whatever, meditating for 20 hours a day, how do they come to the same things if there's nothing to it? That's a scientific.
The problem with science, and my problem, and the problem with society today is, let's go to yin and yang. I always go to yin and yang about this, because life is a balance. Life needs to be balanced. And the yin and yang symbolizes dark and light, light and dark. It needs to have that equal share for it to be in balance. We have went from, say, 1,000 years ago, where it was all like spirits, and no one knew the bacteria, and we didn't understand it. So we were out of balance. And we've come to this point where we are now out of balance again, but on the science element. So if it can't be explained by science, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But what we need to understand is we're not designed to know everything.
Yeah.
As humans, we may think we're above everything else, and because we are the number one on this planet, we think that we have the answer to everything, and we must. But some things in life just aren't meant to be answered.
Yeah.
Life is a journey, and we're here to experience things, and then I believe in reincarnation now. So I believe, boom, you'll die. If you've done enough in this life, you'll go somewhere else. If you haven't, you're going to relive it, and you're going to have another experience, and it's going to give you another life journey. And that's why I think some people die young, because I'm a believer that if you die young, it's because you've learned a lesson you were meant to learn in this lifestyle.
Yeah.
And now you have to move on to get the next.
What you're saying about reincarnation, like about a couple of months ago, I was thinking about the wind. Again, I was having this inner experience, questioning something about the wind. How does the wind move? And then I was like, it led me down into thermodynamics, about the laws of energy. Thermodynamics is the scientific laws of energy. And when I looked into that, I was researching into it. And the first law of thermodynamics is that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change form. And that is like, that's like, did Jesus say this or something?
Well, it makes sense.
But that's reincarnation,
Wood is the best example for people to understand. You've got a block of wood, you burn it, the energy is heat.
Yeah.
So, and then it turns from heat to ash, which is another, so it doesn't disappear. The wood substance may disappear, but it's disappeared, creating energy, which in the form of heat. And then what's left is ash. And then ash comes into the earth, and that becomes nutrients for the soil. And the cycle continues over and over and over again. And the more if people just allow themselves to think instead of just listen to dogma, scientific dogma, religious dogma, and just actually learn to question and go inside themselves, because Jesus teaching, all the answers are within. Every
knowledge, man. That's understanding. That's what's missing from the world. We're being taught just to repeat. We're not taught to internalize, and that's what true knowledge is understanding. And that's that's what's missing in the way we're being taught.
That's painful. That's why going inside, going internally, going inside yourself. Listen, I'm very open. I've tried suicide multiple times. I've been depressed many times. I actually know my triggers now, and I've got to the point in my life where if I find myself I have self-conversations. We all talk to each other or talk to ourselves. My self-conversations start talking about me in the third person, and I instantly know I'm down, I'm depressed, that's not depressed. I'm going down a path I need to get out of very quickly. And I'll talk to Gail. I'll say, Gail, listen, I'm talking to myself in third person. And that's all I need to say. See, just verbalizing to someone else here, I need you to be aware that I'm thinking like this.
Yeah.
That's
You're
me.
a shaman. That's what you are. People say the same to me, man. You're someone who has gone down these paths, you felt these emotions, and now you can help other people through them because you understand them. You know what I'm
I
saying?
think that's the way my training's going. My training, I would actually love right now. I'm like, it's all hindsight, but had I owned Fight Academy Ireland, if I was me now, right? If the me now, if I go back to me when I was 28, before I opened Fight Academy Ireland, I would do it by myself, and I would have the best fight team in this country because I could understand people. But I hadn't been down that journey. I done MMA because I was bullied. I was insecure, like so many people. And I was and the reason I didn't enjoy MMA was because I was presenting a front on myself that wasn't the true me. Do you know, I was trying to be the hard man, the MMA guy, you know, walking about. But deep down, I was this terrified 8-year-old child.
They all are.
We all are. The problem is, the problem is most of us don't. I've got the balls to admit it.
Yeah. You know, well, do you know, whenever, like what you're saying about me with fighting and how I was different, like that was, I've been doing it from day one since I started MMA fighting professionally. And I go to an event and you see the same thing. Everybody's like, "Urgh." And I just be like, I'm scared, but I'm like, I just be me. And I always thought, like, even whenever, like, I used to get it when I got into the cage, I used to get down and I'd meditate to try and control everything, all the energies going on around me. And I'm like, no, I'm controlling me. That's all I need to control. But I realized, because I used to be that person that would make myself look bigger and make myself
look mean. You didn't hate anyone else, you hated yourself.
Yeah, that can be broken though. Like, you know, whereas like I just thought, like, I'm just gonna show you who I am. I show you that I'm scared, but I show you that I'm gonna fight. You know, at the end of the day, if I'm gonna do all I can to survive, you know?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's just a waste of energy. I just see, like, you know, with people, and you know, the moment somebody's all tense and you know, it's just, that's something that can be broken, you know? That's like, that's not the real you. Like,
have you ever had any fights with people that you just went, this boy's a different level, a different animal?
Yeah. Oh, I've had a few of them fights.
You're questioning everything in your being.
Yeah, no, but for me, like, for fighting, I realize it's all knowledge, man. Like, I think I've had different fights with different people at different times, and I just think, yeah, like, if I'd have fought them, it's like you talking about when you were 28 with FAI, you know, like, that is an important part of who you are. You know what I'm saying? And the fighting teaches you that as well. Like, I fought Norman Parks. I should never have been in the ring with Norman because he was just a monster, you know, big dude. I'm fighting a bantamweight now, like, and I fought him at a catch weight of 69, and I was like, I'd be walking around at 66 kilos, like, and I fought him, and he was huge. But yeah, so that's one guy. That man is strong.
Norman's got a solid wrestling base, and like, if you've got a solid wrestling base, you are an absolute animal for other people.
Yeah, like I back then, I was just, my view of fighting was, I'm gonna take your head off. Like, I'm gonna look for a moment, you try and hit me, and I'm like, slip, bam, bam, bam. You know, that was me. And it was all takedown defense and slip and rip. And Norman closed the distance with me straight away in the fight, put me up against the cage, and I just remember, like, I handled myself pretty good, like, actually wrestling with him.
Where was this show?
This was in Tribal Warfare, Galway.
I'm thinking, I think I might have fighters on that fight. I think that was the first time Cormac fought. I've got a funny feeling I might have watched that fight.
Yeah, I can't find the video, man. I wish I had the video. It was only like, he beat me in the end of the first round, but I just remember, as I say, I was doing good, but I just felt his strength, like, was even, in an exchange, I took him down. I didn't want to go to ground with him. I wanted the fight to be on the feet, but he grabbed, just grabbed my wrist, 2 hands on one wrist. And I remember just feeling like my fingers felt numb. because it's
You know
grip.
something? That's something. See, kettlebells. That is
And I was
something
trying to
I'm really
like,
good at.
yeah,
Gripping
I
wrists.
was just trying to like break his grips, and it was like, nah, I ain't breaking. Roll against the thumb. No, that's not working. Yeah.
It's like,
Uh,
what's plan B? Bollocks.
yeah. I was trying to like get up out of his guard, and he was just like big legs wrapped around my waist. Like I was like, oh shit, this dude is heavy.
The
Yeah.
whole thing about MMA is like, it is, people need to, I think the more fighters realize that it's not about you versus the person. It's about you versus you, because
Yeah.
and a loss, like, it's social media is the problem, in my opinion. That's one of the reasons I got out of MMA. I was sick, sore and tired of the ego. I was sick, sore and tired of the internal fight in Fight Academy Ireland. I couldn't be arsed with it anymore. It was just bringing me down. It was making me depressed. It was one of the times I near killed myself because it was just bringing me
Yeah.
that low. But the ego, the need to, like, amateur fighters, one fight, their first fight, and they're on Facebook, I'm going to kill him, I'm going to kill you, ticket deals. You know, when I fought in MMA, I had to pay to go to Galway. I had to pay to fucking my night stand there. I had to pay to fight. I had to pay to come back home. We
Yeah.
did it because we loved it. I think if you're doing it because you want to get paid and you want notoriety, you're not going to last. When you get beat, you have to look in yourself and go, where did I go wrong? Because it wasn't
That's the thing.
I beat you.
I was with a coach. It's a hard thing because, you know, when they win, it's because they're great, and when you lose, it's your fault. You get me?
Of
Like,
course.
so
And
it's
it's a
like,
sad state. That's society, though. Let's blame everyone else. Let's be a victim. And that victim mindset holds you back from life, because I am, like, we all do it. Like, I will blame someone else, but then I'll go away and I'll think and go, nah, that was you, that kid, that was you. And but that's empowering. And I think people need to understand that. The amount of power that you have within inside yourself to actually admit your own feelings. Once you admit that, then you're free to actually fix it. But if you continuously blame your coach, or you continually blame your injury, or you continually blame this, that, or the other, it just means you haven't trained hard enough. It just means you haven't exposed yourself. Maybe you should train with an injury. Maybe you should train with your arm. And like my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor in Australia, I've actually done an interview with him, episode 2 there. He used to make us train with one arm tied on our belt. And we'd have to fight with the other guy fighting 2 arms. And he'd be like, you don't know when it's going to happen in a fight that your arm gets damaged, and you might have to put your arm in the belt and hold it and fight with one arm. But it was that uncomfortableness, the exposure to that uncomfortableness, but in a surrounding that you control a lot easier, made the fear of it less frightening. And eventually you were able to just come away from that. And I think if you maybe train as if you got injuries, as if you can't use your arm, you can't kick your leg or whatever, it's going to make you think differently on the fight and expose weaknesses that you can then work on.
Yeah. For me, like with the coaching of people, like, as I say, like you get blamed a lot, like when things don't go wrong, and you don't get the respect maybe whenever they win. I just think that's just a part of it. And like, I just had to accept that. And like, I just think to myself, like, the core thing of why I started fighting was to inspire people, was to pass on knowledge and stuff like this. And whether my students leave me and go to another gym or whatever else, like, it doesn't matter, as long as I know that I've done good for them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You know, and so that was something that I like had to work through, because it's always going to happen. You know, there's going to be people that leave you. There's going to be people that like, it's not about me. Do you get me? That's the kind of a thing, like, you know, I just have to, that saying, if you love them, set them free, that kind of a thing. But
it's like I tell people, you can be offensive. You know, I could be racist and call you a name that would be offensive, and I'm being a dick, but it's your part, but then your part to not be offended.
Yeah.
You know, and I think people need to understand that, you know, what words people say, if you have that strength, then you do go, okay, that's an internal issue with them, that he's projecting his fears, his anger onto me. But if you can see within him that's an internal problem inside him, and actually not bite, then you remove his power to be able to offend you, hurt you, or do anything with you. Because at the end of the day, it's his words. And people, I see society, we're just too easily offended. And we're so easily offended now, we're accommodating those people that are offended, as opposed to actually going, no, 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 that's inside you. And if we all could become a bit more enlightened and just understanding about these things, well, then you'll find the society would function a lot healthier and a lot better.
Yeah, that's like, as I say, like whenever I used to fight and I used to get in the ring and I'd meditate and I just turn my back to my opponent, that's the exact same thing. That's what's missing from martial arts today is, do you know what? This is the one thing I can control. Everything out there is irrelevant. You know, I actually can create this reality outside of me by just controlling this reality. Do you get me?
I've went back to traditional martial arts now because I'm so sick of MMA. I now do Systema. I do. I can't grapple because I'm hip at the moment, but I can do a bit of Systema. And Systema, although it's laughed at and joked at, I've experienced that there's no one who's ever hit me harder than anyone who does Systema. Genuinely, it honestly, like, I remember we were doing this drill with Martin, my instructor, and a real knife. You're doing it with the speed, and you're trying to hit it, and he just hit me once in the stomach. I was down, couldn't move, like literally paralyzed, couldn't breathe. He picked the knife up and just put it across my throat. And that was I was like, holy shit. When I recovered, I was like, I was dead. In the war, I was dead there because I was powerless. The pain he hit me with was just insane. But Systema is about breathing. Everything revolves. Systema's Martin's motto to me, and it's the best thing I've ever heard, is like, the first thing you do in life is breathe. The last thing you do in life is breathe. So that means breath dictates the world. It dictates everyone's universe. And the minute you can understand how to control your breath, how to control that, and actually, when you control your breath, look at Wim Hof, what he can do with his breath. There's a magical power inside of us, every single one of us. But the problem is, we don't want to put the effort in to learn it because society's taught us, Instagram, Facebook, it's like 10 seconds, 5 seconds, lost interest. We're searching for the answers. Everyone's searching for the fucking answers on Instagram, but the answers are within us if we put the effort in. It blows me away how people can't see this.
You'd
be big into meditating then, would you?
Like, I just, as you're saying about the breathing, like the breathing is like the equilibrator, you know, like it controls just your thoughts, everything, your energy, you know, like it's an amazing thing, like just breath.
And would you bring a lot of that into your martial arts, your own club? Would a lot of your students, would you actually have time for breathing to try to calm down after sessions?
So like I've showed them the Wim Hof breathing, and I showed them, do you know, like is like a yoga breathing technique.
I understand all of it. See, my partner, she's hippie. She is a pure hippie, and she's into sound therapy, and she's into essential oil. She's into all this. So I understand the AIOUs and the and how the sacred noises and the sacred meaning behind all these noises.
Well, that's the first, like the AEIOU, the vowels. They're the first language. That's the first thing that babies speak. You know, it's all it's the motion. You know, and
actually, I never thought like that.
And if you think of spell, that's magic. Spelling is the consonants, the C's. They're like the structure that houses the emotions, and that's what the spell is. That's the magic, you know.
Diving that a bit deeper. That's a bit interesting. I don't really.
So like the vowels is the emotion, the pure essence. Do you get me? Whereas spelling as the word spell, it's a spell. Ancients believed in magic, you know. Today we think magic is all the hocus pocus stuff, but it's just kind of lost knowledge. Do you get me? And so spelling, the word, the consonants is like the structure, it's the temple, but the vowel is the essence of the spell. Do you understand?
Well, I was watching a show. I subscribe to Gaia. I just love all that sort of, you know, the internal mind stuff. I love all that type of stuff. It's interesting. And I think it's forgotten. I'm big into like lost civilizations and
I love it.
Black Happy and things like that. But Gail was watching a sound healing one or something about sounds, and your woman said something, and I was like, that's amazing. It's like the vowels, it's unbroken, it's circular. But if you bring in a consonant, but
it cuts it off. Yeah.
It breaks that, and it actually it breaks the cycle of the noise, the magicness of the sound. And I was like, Jesus, that actually makes a lot of sense to me. Do you know, you can see the way the you know, the humming sound, that chanting.
And the that's what I would do. I would teach to my students whenever we go to like an MMA show and they're nervous and all this stuff. I'd say anytime you feel that nerves, just take a deep breath in. And that just slows your breathing. It just calms the nerves. It puts you into that, you know, not that tense.
Different vibration, a different vibration.
Yeah. And it counteracts all of the negative music, because you go to an MMA show, it's all the doo, 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 doo. It's like, and the atmosphere, everyone's drinking, so you're all stuck in that lower vibration. So when you do the it brings you in, it controls your own energy source, your own singularity, you know?
Yeah, it's a nervous energy, isn't it? In a show, there's a very, you can feel the nervous energy. Your friends are watching you. They're nervous for you. They're excited, but it can bring you down, you know, it can drive your energy crazy. Yeah.
So like I do teach them the I think is like a very powerful tool for just centering yourself. And then I would teach as well for them when they're fighting is once they've settled themselves, then they can start visualizing, creating, seeing the scenarios. I do actually, before we even go to an MMA event, I've taught like visualization things, just to visualize.
I've actually got that down in my notes. I was going to ask you, are you big in the that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. Are you
visualizing, So basically, if you know, like visualize the event, if you're fighting on Clan Wars or something, okay, so you know the Clan War setup, visualize yourself, get into the venue, visualize yourself walking into the changing room area, visualize the rules meeting, you know, and anytime in this visualization, when you feel the nerves, visualize yourself taking a deep breath in, and then controlling your nerves, and then, you know, you'll visualize yourself taking all these steps and seeing all the steps happen before they happen. So whenever it does happen in the present, you've done this, you know what to do. Anytime you start feeling that nervous energy, you know what step to do next, right up until you're stood there facing your opponent in the cage. Do you understand?
And how long would you visualize for before your fights? How long would you spend meditating, visualizing, going over what scenarios?
Like I think by the time it's fight day, as I say, I visualized everything that's going to take place on that day, be it like driving to the venue or somebody telling you to wrap your hands, you know, to somebody saying, okay,
you're up next.
You're up next. The fight's on now, so just be ready. You know, like everything. It's like, like I think you have to visualize. It's like, again, it's a tool that we're not being taught. It's a lost knowledge. Is visualization.
Sorry,
you know, because
go ahead, keep talking.
Like, sorry.
Keep talking. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I'm saying keep talking.
But yeah, it's a lost tool of knowledge. Like, you know, like of visualize, being able to, like, humans naturally see patterns. You know, so like if you see patterns in things, you look back on yourself, you see that's what karma is. You see the patterns of good, bad choices of everything, of every action that we've ever done. You know, then you can see things, you can change things, you know, or you can look ahead. And even though it's not good to stay looking in the future and in the past, it's good to be in the present. But that's what preparing, you have to be prepared at the same time, you know, for what's going to happen. It's empowering to know what's gonna.
I spoke to Andy Burrows yesterday about this. We're sort of talking about it, not the visualization, but the as a coach, if people don't understand, like for example, you just said about visualizing all these different scenarios.
Yeah.
Like when I was coaching fighters, I am exhausted by the end of cornering, far harder than I'd ever be fighting.
Yeah.
Because I'm visualizing their fights. I'm acting. I'm dodging. I'm weaving. I'm doing all these movements, grab his arm, you know, you're literally fighting with your fighter, only you have no control of the situation. And that's where
and then when they lose, you're like, oh, you feel you're trying to lift them back up, and you've got to get somebody else hyped up again for their fight.
It's so hard, isn't it?
Yeah. It's hard.
Give me 2 seconds. This dog has been busting my balls to get out the toilet for 2 minutes. He's interrupting me. 2 seconds. 2 seconds.
I'll go and throw some. Yeah.
Jackson, come on, get out. Oh, sorry about that. This dog of mine is a pain in the arse. He's only 16 months old, and he's just a pain in the hole, so he is. But he's
cool.
But yeah, so we're saying there, sorry, interrupting that. Yeah, that is one of the hard things about amateur sports, and especially MMA. You know, you're dealing with kids, and a lot of them are kids. You know, like I classify anyone under 30 as a kid now. You still haven't understood yourself. Very few of you understand yourselves under the age of 30. But the ego, the social media aspect, when you get beat in front of 1,000 people, and then it's all over Facebook, and people are asking you, you know, as soon as they lose, boom, their energy's down, and you can lose that kid very easily. A defeat can actually make them a fighter, but they can lose you like the next McGregor, just if it's not handled properly. And then as a coach, you have to try to get him up, and you're down because you've felt that loss as much because it's your team he's representing, and you've put the effort in, and you're questioning yourself. Did I do enough? Was it my fault? And then you go take another guy out 10 minutes later, and you have to try to be up for him, and he's seen his teammate get beat. It's a very hard sport, and unless you're mentally prepared, you're losing out. I think too many people put the focus on jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and boxing and the sparring, and there's no effort put in towards the actual mental aspect of the game, of understanding that it's a fight. A slip could mean you can fall and lose a fight. Anything can happen, and I think you have to meditate on the fact that it's a possibility you will lose a fight, and how do you respond from that loss. I don't think you should focus on I'm going to lose, but you should focus on, okay, if I lose, how do I respond? So because you're reliving it.
Like a martial artist, like a coach as well, because you're at the end of the day, you're teaching them to be coaches, to be like, you know, true martial arts. And you have to be like a expert basically in so many different things, like to do with nutrition, psychology, you know, martial arts, like move skills, fitness, you know, movement. Like just you have to be a good coach, to be a good teacher, you have to be know-it-all, you know. But ultimately you need to still control yourself, because if you understand how to lift people up and how to get them to invoke emotions in them, to trigger, because I think like with everybody, like we all basically run on autopilot. So basically, you know, you're training them to program their subconscious so that whenever the fight happens, it just, you know, that takes on. But yeah, you have to be in control of yourself even more so, because as you say, you get somebody hyped up, they go and fight, they lose or they win, you know, and then you've got to center yourself again to go and do it straight away again for the next person. So I think it's flipping, it's tough, like definitely.
Coaching's harder than fighting.
Yeah.
It really is. And I learned that, like, I was never a fighter. I said this yesterday. I was never a fighter. I fought because I wanted to coach. And I'm a believer that you have to know the experiences, the emotions. You have to experience everything before you can actually pass on useful knowledge. Yeah. Now, Andy said perfectly, Greg Jackson never fought. I understand that. But it's just my personal belief that I think you're a more equipped coach if you can.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, I think you have to walk the walk. Like you can't, even if you're a very smart person and you can break down skills, you can't. You have to be able to internalize with these people, you know, through what they're going. You have to see what they're going through inside them during a moment of a fight, a moment of chaos and be like, snap out of it.
You can see,
you know,
in a fight, like if you're good at, if you understand what fighting is, you can see the edge. You know, here, like in battle, they talk about battles, the ebb of the battle. They can see it, the tide of turning, and they can see. You can see that, and sometimes, you know, I remember one fighter. I won't mention his name because he's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And we all go through it, but he got hit a big right hook, massive. Your man's on, and it rocked him, and that was the fight over. And that's only round one, and I knew the fight was over because he was hesitant. He was in that zone where he was on defensive the whole time. He wasn't willing to attack.
Yeah.
He was focused on that. That one punch had imprinted a memory in his mind so strong that it was overriding all his other abilities.
Yeah.
And no matter what I said, he just get and do it.
Yeah.
He couldn't do it. It's like the fear. And then if your man threw that hook again or threw a shot, he was back into that, oh my God, I'm going to get rocked again. And and I think partly that's the coach's problem. The coach should have anticipated this type of thing happening, and we should have discussed this and put in procedures, like you said, the meditating and the visualization to help get over that. Now, but at that stage, I was not into this type of stuff. I was just all ego and bravado and trying to pretend to be someone I wasn't. But I wasn't fighting. You're still a fighter, aren't you? You're still actively fighting.
Yeah. It's when I said I was gonna to people that I was gonna be setting up Shaolin MMA, people were like, oh, you can't do both. You can't be a fighter and a coach.
Well, that's my next question.
It is like, again, it is hard, but at the same time, I think you can do it. And for me, like, as I say, fighting was never, it was both for personally for me to learn. It's like a DMT trip for me every time I fight, an ego death. And but it's always been about changing the world. Do you get me? Inspiring people, building my network. Now that I've just shown people, like me getting into the cage, not being like this macho man, showing, like, bringing back spirituality to martial arts, because MMA in particular was very taking the practical elements from the traditional arts and then leaving the essence from where the traditional arts originally came from, you know. So, and then not just that, even the world thing, the stuff that's going on in the world, that was the core reason why I started fighting. And yeah, so I fight for, I think of all the things I'm fighting for, and then that's what empowers me when I'm fighting. If you understand?
Yeah, brilliant. I think it's fantastic.
That's how I overcome. But going back to the fighting and coaching, it's hard, but at the same time, it's kind of like leading by example. Do you get me?
Yeah.
And the last cage conflict, actually, that was the hardest fight for me. That was my last fight. But it was the most special one. It was hard because I had about 6 fighters fighting on the same card as me. I was coaching them all, and then I straight, like, literally a few minutes later, I jumped in the cage, fought myself, and then my student came in and fought straight after me, Andreas Binder. He fought for their welterweight title, and I literally just rushed to see the doctors, jumped straight back in the cage with him for his fight. And but again, it was tough. It is tough being a coach and a fighter, but you can do it. And I think it's more about your own self-mastery, being able to control your energy. When you understand energy, everything is energy. And when you understand energy, how to control your energy and other people's energy, then you can manage that energy. A fight in itself is a control of energy, using your knowledge of energy to control energy.
See, this is in the fight. But this is where people need to understand. Like, when you push me, that is energy. Yeah. When I pull you, that's energy. And that's what jiu-jitsu is. Jiu-jitsu is the art of, going with the least resistance, and it's feeling the energy and not resisting the energy, working with the energy. And that's, I think today, in the world we live in, it's an angry world, and MMA is full of angry people. It's like people who are looking for an outlet for their anger and repression. And it's coming across, and I see it more and more often. People are just wanting to like ego, and they're wanting to kill. I want to fucking take your health. And McGregor would be fucking one of the reasons why behind this. Now, whether what you think of McGregor is up to you. I'm on the fence with him. There's sometimes I do respect him. I highly respect him. You can't not respect what he's done. You know, when he was 16, he said he was going to be the UFC champion of the world. So you have to respect that. And I've never had more respect for the man than when he got beat by Diaz. How he took that beating, and he didn't blame anyone else. But in an interview straight after, he looked at himself, and I was like, "Wow, I've just found respect for you." Up until then, I didn't like what he's doing, and I don't like the slobbering. But I understand why he's doing it. It's a business. It's not about martial arts anymore. It's about making money, and that's sadly what this MMA game's about now. People are in it to try to make a career and not actually try to better themselves. And that's where I think the disconnect is. And I would just like to see, it like it going down a bit, again, we'll go back to the balance, the yin and yang.
I'm seeing like change in McGregor, and like, I think that's a more important message, what in his life is change in all of our lives, like we're talking about
he's a young man. He's still very young.
Yeah, very young. And he's like, I think his actions have caused damage, but his learning can just change all of that. He's got such a big network that, like, I hope he stays on that path, and I think he will, because if you, as you say, you look at how the only reason why he's as good as he is from self-reflection, you know, and self-improvement, so I have
work
good,
ethic, his work ethic
for him anyway.
So I don't know. I think there needs to be a change, and I think coaches need to be more open to realizing they are the influence their fighters are. The coach, I look at a fighter and I'll go, I know his coach. Yeah, you'll know whose coach he is, just because the majority of the fighters will reflect the way the coach coaches, how the coach talks to the fighters, how the coach gets on. That's going to be reflected in the team. And I think coaches need to be like the foundation. No one sees the foundations. The foundations are ugly. The foundations are discussed. They're born to the hard work, but they're the most important part of building a house, building a palace or a castle.
It's like a father, a parent. A coach is a parent.
Too many coaches want to be the top of the pyramid. They want to be the people, the one that everyone looks up to. But you can't be. You've got to be the silent one. I think John Kavanagh does it very well, actually. John Kavanagh he's very good at, just being a coach and very calm in the corner, but never really taking the limelight, just slowly walking away. I respect John for that. I do respect him. Same as Davey, my coach, Davey Patterson, another very quiet man who no one really sees at things, but it's those small words, those simple words that he uses, that he says personally, that make a big difference and get the best out of you. And I think
they're very rational people, rational people. But at the same time, though, I do think it's very important to not be to be emotion is important. Rationalizing stuff and being able to break down in a knowledgeable way, of what to do, steps to do in a fight is very important. But also the other side of the coin, the right brain, the emotion, understanding the internal processes that this person is going through, not just in the fight, in their day-to-day lives. And I find a lot of these coaches, like what you're saying, they're good on one spectrum, but they don't address each person individually and what they're going through. Or do you get me?
I do. I know what you're saying. I think that would be very hard, though, in the sense that, well, I suppose it's the culture you actually cultivate in your gym. It's the coach's job to find the right fighters for his. And it's like the business I run, the strength and conditioning program, the gym I run. Like, I have no problem getting rid of a member who doesn't suit my ethos. If I find one member bringing down, if I'm not wanting to coach this person because it's just like he's draining my energy, I get rid of him. And it's not that I want to be a dick. It's just that I know that if I'm in that sort of energy field, I am not going to respect my other fighters. I'm not going to be able to give my other fighters who deserve my respect and deserve my effort and listen to what I say. I'm not giving them my full effort. So I think I'm doing them a disservice to try to accommodate one person. And if I ever went back into MMA coaching, and to be honest, I need a hip replacement, so I can't do anything at the moment, but there's something in me. Something in me is just going, I want to coach again. I'm feeling like I'm teaching my girlfriend, my fiance, how to grapple, and she's phenomenal.
Yeah.
She's unbelievable at grappling. And I think she's going to be Irish champion in a couple of years' time in the jiu-jitsu when she gets head to shit. She's putting me under pressure. But it's just getting that buzz again. I'm just see that technique. I love breaking down techniques. And I have always got this really big buzz from watching someone hit their first arm bar or do a really slick movement, and they just go, whoa, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
It's an ego. Don't get me wrong. It's purely ego
Yeah.
on my part as well. Like you're going, yeah, I don't know. But it's awesome
Yeah.
to know that your knowledge you're sharing can have such a positive impact on other people's lives.
Yeah, especially beginners. I stopped teaching beginners for a good while because I had so many advanced fighters that I was training. And then I went back after we had the fire in our gym, and I started teaching all the classes again myself, all of them. And I was teaching beginners, and I just was I was like, do you know what? Another lesson for me. This is the most important. Well, not the most important, but it's such an important aspect of it because you get to see them. You're their first experience into the world of martial arts. Do you get me?
Yeah.
And like that, what you're talking about, that first time doing an arm bar, or when they have you get to see them have that realization, you know, of how this works and how that empowerment, Jesus, this can save me or whatever. Somebody who has they think that this is what fighting is, and suddenly they get taken down and they're like, oh, you know, some people that do MMA beginners courses, they think that fighting is traditional Irish, you know, I'm gonna box the head of you, like, and then you get to see them understand, okay, if somebody grabs a hold of me, then I'm in a whole world of trouble, you know. So I think like, yeah, it taught me like that. Yeah, that introduction level is so important. Teaching people at all levels is great, but yeah, like there's something special about teaching someone. It's the first. It's like a greeting when meeting someone for the first time. It's like like a fresh person walks into the gym and it's like, how's it going, man? You know.
I'm in the unique position in this country of being like, I was the first coach. Well, Davey was the coach, but I was one of the main coaches to get to bring a fight to the UFC. You know, in 2007, I coached Stevie Lynch. So I've experienced like grassroots, and I've experienced 9,000 people cheering for my fighter. And it was like, whoa, it was such a buzz. And it wasn't screaming my name, but Jesus, I got the brush from that. Yeah. But I will tell you right now, for me personally, I would give up that every day to get the buzz that I get from teaching a young bullied kid, showing them the skills they have within themselves. They just need to work on it. It's seeing that realization in someone else that your knowledge and what you've spent years accumulating and fucking cultivating is able to help someone else's life in a positive way. To me, that's much. I would, if someone said to me, you're going to go into the MMA and you're going to have 10 UFC fighters, but you're never going to get this UFC again, I'd say, as long as I get to see the kids blossom, that's my job done. Like I said, I don't need the glory, and I think a lot of people want to go UFC for glory. I just want to see people change their lives.
Yeah, if you love them, set them free, man. All there is knowledge. Knowledge is just there to be passed on to the next person. Long after our names are gone, just the knowledge is there. Like old sayings that, think of where do these sayings come from? Like when you go out, somebody says, what is it? Take what you need. Better to have something and not need it than need something and not have it. Things like that. You know, who came up with that saying? They're probably long gone, but that knowledge is just there.
I use that saying all the time.
That's what we are, like, you know, long after our names and are gone, the things that we've done and passed on just live on. Like
I like the explanation of 3 deaths. You know, your first death is the death when your body dies and you lose your consciousness. The second death is when you are put in the ground, and the third death is when your name's spoken for the last time.
Yeah.
And I would say the more you do in life,
that's nice. I haven't heard that before. That's nice. Really nice.
I like it because when there's people like I know, like my grandfather was my hero. He was my, and he's dead 50. I was 29 when he died, right? He died on my birthday on 20 when I was 29. And he is mentioned by me to someone every single day. So he is still
Yeah,
alive.
he's still alive. Yeah,
I
man.
tell this story all the time to people, and it's stupid, but it's something that's really profound to me. It's like my granddad, when I was 8, the Mullaghmore, he used to bring us to Mullaghmore every year. I loved the place. And he cracked this rock open, and he goes, Paul, the light is shining this rock. It's the first time it's shown it in maybe 5 billion years. And this just blew me away. I was like, and because of that, but that one
I can see
simple,
why you remember him. Like, he sounds like a cool guy.
but that one thing, as an 8-year-old
Yeah.
child, that one thing started my journey onto the universe and has ended up here. So my grandfather's influence, I am the man I am because of that man. And he's not dead, he's still alive. And I've actually, if you want to go really deep, DMT, I've met him twice.
Yeah.
I've seen him twice on DMT. So he's
Yeah.
not dead. But that is very, very, like, I don't think people understand the words you can have and the effect you can have in people's lives. It could be generational thing. It could be something so small and profound. Because I done that to my daughter, and my daughter's now massively into the universe, and I bought her an encyclopedia on stars and space,
Yeah.
and she knows the entire. Since she was 4, she knew all the planets, and but that's because of my granddad.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
past generations.
my father dying like had such a big effect on my life. I was 6 years old when my dad passed away, and so I clung to memories of him that I had. I only had 6 years of memories of him, and some of the memories I don't even know if they're memories or things, stories that people passed on to me, or pictures. And but with my kids, like, I thought I got over my dad's death, especially when I had like awakening experiences in my life and stuff like that. But when I had my kids, I realized that my wife's parents were there and my mom was there, but they were missing my dad, you know. And so that kind of made me really sad. And at that moment in my life, and I've like basically passed on the knowledge of my dad that I have to my kids. And even though my kids have never met him, they know him. And I even create stories out of nothing. I make him into like a complete like complete legend, like, you know. So
I think you need to understand, the men need to, like, your father is your first hero as a man, you know.
Yeah.
And I was talking about this now, the mental health aspect. There are a lot of children in this, and we're in a generation, second generation of single mothers, and there's a lot of men out there who need a guidance of a man like you. You know, you're the type of, if I had a son and I died, and I would want my son's martial art coach to have your philosophies, because I know they're gonna be in good hands. And it's what I don't like about MMA. It's like you've got a lot of guys getting into it who are just too egotistical, too insecure themselves, and they take it out. They're not capable of being coaches. I was like that. I'll be honest. There was an aspect of me that I do not like about myself, and I was almost a bully, I would say. And sometimes if it took a disliking to someone, it wasn't a good trait of mine. It was a horrible trait of mine, in fact. And it's something that I've had to go inside myself and reflect on. And I've actually walked up to people and apologized. I've said to them, like, listen, I'm sorry, I was a dick to you. I know it's too late.
But that's why I like you, Paul, because I know for a fact like that you're that type of person. You know, like you're just real. You know?
Have to be. You have to have the ball. See if you're a dick. Like, listen, prime example, myself and Gail, right? Gail is the love of my life. She is just everything I've ever wanted in a woman. But when the two of us fight, if I'm in the wrong, I will, then I'll walk away and I'll come back and go, I'm sorry. But see, if I'm in the right, I won't speak to her for 3 days until she apologizes to me, because I ain't going nowhere. Like, if I have to sleep on the sofa for 3 days, I will sleep on the sofa 3 days, because I am but I am so, like, you know, I have got my moral principles. And I will not budge them for anyone. That's why I'm so outspoken about COVID, and I don't care who I offend. I'm just like, fuck these. No, it's like, this needs to be spoken about. There's other aspects in fucking death, you know. And that's who I am. But I think it's very important that people be proud of who you are, be willing to be who you know you are, but also
be real, man.
Accept your flaws and work on them, and then admit when you're wrong.
Yeah, 2019 New Year's night, me and my partner were doing some spirit plants, and the next I had an ego death. I had I had an ego death that night, and I literally, something came to me. I ended up like ringing people that like I hadn't spoke to in ages and all, just like saying sorry and trying mending relationships and things like this. But one of the things that came to me was, stop being what the world wants you to be, start being what the world needs you to be.
Oh, that's profound.
Yeah. And like that's on my Instagram account again, still to now. Like and that's what the world, that's a
That
message
is
for me
massive. That's actually,
individually. Yeah.
I'm
Stop
honestly,
being what
I don't
stop
want to
being what
interrupt
the
you.
world wants you to be. Start being what the world needs you to be. And like I think you can look at the world now and you could think that's what people need to be doing. Like, like we're so influenced by a small minority of people, and we need to like just look at your past, look at your karma of your past. That'll tell you, change the things you don't like about the reality you were brought into, you were born into, and use the things that you do like about like what you're talking about your granddad, and things like this. Use that to change the future, the good things, So look back at the bad. That'll show you give you your purpose.
I have just wrote that line down. Genuinely,
Yeah.
that is one of the most profound sayings I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That's gonna be one of those ones that I'm gonna steal that on you. I'm gonna use that myself.
It's not mine, man. It's just there. Like I say, we tap into these things, and
that's phenomenal. That I think, like I said, words have power. Like you can destroy a life, or you can lift a person up with words.
Yeah.
I don't think people need, and that's the danger about Instagram and Facebook, because see, you and I, if we disagreed, if we were in a gym, we disagreed, you can guarantee we're going to fighting, and we'll punch the face of each other, and someone will win, someone will lose, but there'll be a newfound respect.
Yeah.
And there'll be a handshaking, and it'll be forgotten about. But what we've got today is we've got a whole world, a whole generation of kids who are scared, insecure, don't think they fit in, and they've got a keyboard, and they can take their anger out, and they don't realize what they write is there forever. It's on the internet forever.
Yeah.
Come back and bite them in the ass. But ultimately, but more than that, it could destroy, it could push someone to kill themselves.
Yeah.
And we do that out of anger ourselves.
What you were saying about punch in the face, like me, like, because at the moment, like with lockdown, travel bans and stuff, like I'm basically I'm training in different locations all around County Galway with different students, trying to help them, stay healthy, fit, positive. And one of my students, Park Hannon, legend, man. And anyway, he had got the bus up to a location where we were training. And after we were training, we were doing some sparring, like, so we had like a lot of heavy rounds of sparring, and I was dropping him back to the bus after training. And when he said goodbye to me, he turned around, and you have to picture his face. He goes, "Thanks for debating." And just the fist pump, "Thanks for the beating," as in like, thanks for the knowledge. But, oh man,
we're a different breed of people.
Yeah.
MMA fighters are a different. Any fighter, proper fighter, is a different mindset to the average man.
Yeah.
And you need to get punched in the face once in your life to understand the fear of getting punched is worse than getting punched.
Yeah, and my wife one time, like I was just sitting, legs crossed, facing her, chatting, had a real deep conversation with her, and she was looking at me, and she kind of like put her hand on my jaw and my body's all like this, kind of this formed, and she's trying to straighten out my body, and I was like, you can just see Michelle De Silva, who's my BJJ coach, the form my body's in, you could just see him around me, like choking me or something. Like, this is Michelle right here. Oh, we were in stitches laughing.
When we're talking about MMA, what happened to what happened to Jim? What happened to fire? What was the cause, or what was the story behind it?
It was just flipping old Jim, man. And so when, like, I don't know nothing about business, I just like, this is what I have to do. This is where my future lies. So I kind of like signed the lease for this gym. Used to be Galway City Forms. It was like a printing company,
right?
A printing factory or something. But it was the unit was empty for years, and when we moved in, so I just basically, when I looked at the place, I looked at the layout and I said, oh, this would be perfect for what we need. So it basically, I never changed much about it. The electrics and all was all normal, like, and there was it was a fire, electrical fire from an old fluorescent strip lighting bulb. And in the back room, it wasn't even a room that I was using. It was just like a storage room. And yeah, it caught light. Luckily, it happened. It was like 9 p.m. after the last session of the day, and somebody said, "Ben, I can smell smoke." So I literally just ran upstairs, seen where it was coming from. I ran in, started like I had two. I didn't know what type of fire it was. I was so stupid. My head was just like, I can't let this place burn down.
Yeah.
This is our home, the temple. And so I kind of like, I stupidly, the door was locked and I just broke the door open. You know, they say about backdraft from a fire like that. So luckily that didn't just blow up in my face, but I had two fire extinguishers. I went into this little storeroom and I was trying to like fight this. I couldn't see where the fire was coming from because it was just thick black smog, and I could just see it glow. Anytime I sprayed the extinguisher in, it was literally like a dragon, no lies. When I was spraying the water at it, it was like going, getting angrier. Yeah. And so I was like trying to fight it, and then a cable, this is how I knew it came from the fluorescent bulbs, because a cable that was on fire, as I say, it looked like a dragon, because it was literally like flailing around the place, still sparking. And then luckily Park Hannon again, the student I was just on about, like he just literally grabbed me from behind and just pulled me out and just says, "Man, you have to leave it, Ben," like, you know. And yeah, that was run downstairs, and the fire brigade was on their way, and we just sat there and watched the place burn, and like it was a horrible experience. But at the same time, it's like it brought us together as a community. Everybody realized the essence of what we're about, like, and as I say, we called it the temple. That was what we called the gym, the Shaolin Temple. And I realized when we had no gym that the temple is in here. That's what Shaolin was. And all the people that were outside watching the place burn down, that were consoling me, you know, saying, "Don't worry, Ben, we'll build this back again. Don't worry." You know, like
it makes you feel that's like, it's the same with Primal. My members have supported me through lockdown religiously.
Yeah.
They're amazing. Like I just genuinely can't thank my members enough for what they're doing for me. But it makes you realize, it gives you a sense of pride. And it's good to feel proud that you've built something that's affecting other people's lives in a way that they want it to be there. And they want, like, it's more than just a business, it's a family.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You know, and I think that's why I left Freddie Comedy Ireland. I didn't feel the family feel anymore. I felt like an outsider. I started that place I started it as Progressive Comedy Belfast out of the Falls Leisure Centre, moved it to the new place. But I felt it just got too big, too fast, too many chiefs, not enough Indians. And I felt to myself, this is not, I didn't know what it was then. You say I'm shamanic, but maybe my experience in life, there was something internally telling me this was no longer mine. I'd lost it, you know, and it took a long time to get over it, but it's the best thing ever happened to me now that I've flourished, I've blossomed, I've become the man that I needed to become to do what I want to do. But it took that painful lesson of realizing how not to run a business to help me to run a business.
It is hard. And like I said, what you were saying earlier actually about how a coach sets the precedence for the atmosphere inside that place, that temple. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's hard. As you say, if there is it's kind of like an ideological thing as well, thinking about council of people, some too many heads, not enough, whatever you said. Yeah, like, so sometimes it can be good, you know, two minds is better than one, but at the same time, if it's like a democracy, sometimes if bad fruit get in there and manipulate everybody else. It can. So,
That's exactly what
yeah,
happened. It's the ego, of insecurity. If you've got a coach, like I said, who's insecure, that can breed insecurity. And the insecurity, when you're insecure, look what's happening today. People who are
yeah,
insecure, people who are fearful, easily controlled, easily
yeah,
manipulated. So if you're, and that's an intern, like in a smaller version, if you're like an environment where the leader is insecure, isn't a true leader,
yeah,
is more just, they're, it's about themselves, or they're trying to deal with their own insecurities,
yeah,
then it can lead to the rest of the group, and that can cause problems. And that's what happened for me. And rather than fight against it, I just thought, something, I'm gone. And that
yeah,
took, for me, it took a lot of balls. It took a lot
yeah.
of balls, though, because like I am the original founder. It was me who started it and me who founded it, and it was painful to
Oh,
have
yeah.
to walk away from everything you built, because
Hmm.
I think people forget that when before me there was no. I was the first full-time, fully equipped MMA gym in this country.
Yeah,
We had everyone had like wee sheds with mats, but nowhere had like a cage, nowhere had like a weights area, no one had like a designated matted area, and punch bags everywhere,
yeah. I
changes
remember
rooms.
seeing like the gym set up, and I was thinking, oh, it's nice. It was the first. Yeah, it was.
By the time I left, we had 3 rooms: a full size wrestling mat, cage, another fighter's room with a cage wall in it, another matted area. Just it was a phenomenal setup, to be honest, especially
Yeah,
for two guys who I started with Liam, and it was what he put 6 grand in it, and I maxed my credit cards out. It was a ballsy move, and I like. Now I actually hope it goes well. I hope it. Now I hold no ill feelings towards anyone. There's no point. It was only me holding myself back by harvesting that sort of hatred. And I hope
yeah,
it goes well. I'd like to see it do very well, because ultimately it's part of my history. And I can always turn around and say, if some kid got to the UFC, I could turn and say, well, in some strange way, I was the one who facilitated
yeah,
that. I mightn't have
yeah,
been part of his training, but without my actions, that wouldn't happen. And I hold a sense of pride in that, no matter what. But
yeah,
what was I say to you? You fought in Malta,
yeah. Centurion Fight
Gallo.
Championships, Malta. Yeah,
Gallo. I know Gallo very well.
Gallo. Yeah, yeah. I remember
I
actually you said to me about Gallo. Say hello to Gallo.
I
Although
I
he,
actually I lived in Malta for 4 months with a
yeah, it's
guy who was. I can't even tell the story. This story is just too illegal. But this guy was.
a lot of stuff that, like, from my experience in Malta, there's a lot of illegal stuff that goes on over there. It
mate,
seems like
mate.
I don't know, like it's like a tax haven or something like that. I don't know. It just,
I'm talking mafiosa illegal. It was
yeah,
insane. I walked down the street with this guy, and there was people running up and kissing his hand. Like it was something out of Goodfellas. Like, mwah, mwah, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going, what the
yeah,
fuck? I'll tell you how crazy it is. There was this guy in Malta, right? This one guy, he was covered. I mean, like I'm covered in tattoos, but I mean, there was
yeah,
not a part of his body was not covered, but it was covered in names, right? And
yeah.
basically, what he done was he got anyone's name that he met tattooed on him. And he met
Hmm.
this guy. So this guy, whose name I will not mention, his name was tattooed over his heart, over your man's heart, because he had done so much for him. And he goes, "What's your name?" And my nickname was Bucka. Fucking week later, you walk there, and there's Bucka tattooed. I don't even know you, Rocket. It was just fucking madness.
You're like, take my name off your chest, man.
It was
Oh man,
fucking so.
yeah,
I lived there for 4 months. It was unbelievable. I lived in a bougie bar.
yeah,
I'll tell you another story. Again, I won't mention his name, but so because this was when I was MMA. I was 25, so I was in my prime in MMA. I was really training hard, and I was out training in Malta. I found a gym, and I was like hitting the bag and just doing my best to keep myself fit. And the guy comes in, the guy who I know comes in, he goes, "Bugger, come on, we need to go somewhere." So I was like, right, okay. So he drives down to Bougie Bar. Were you in Bougie Bar? No.
who? What?
Bougie Bar? Did you go to Bougie Bar, part of Malta? No.
No, I was
No.
like, I was on the coast. I kind of had Gallo put us up in a apartment,
St.
and
Julian's?
yeah, I can't remember what it was called actually. It was just somewhere on the coast. Is
Well, we
that whole
were,
place was just like hotels,
that
restaurants.
sounds like St.
Yeah,
Paul's or St. Julian's, something like that. But this guy has loads of shops in in Bougie Bar. he sort of controlled Bujiba. He had like sort of like a, you will get a business and you won't get a business type of sway in this place.
Yeah.
And he drove up to this kebab shop. It was Turkish guys or something, or some sort of guys from that neck of the woods. And he opened the boot. He just grabs a baseball bat and a chain out with a padlock. And he hands me the baseball bat. He goes, come in.
Because you're Irish, man. He's like, this guy, I know this.
And then he comes in and he chains the door together. He chains the door closed. And there's these guys with machetes fucking cutting these big slabs of meat. And I'm standing there going, and they start talking like in Moroccan language. And I'm just going, what the fuck? And then he points, cage fighter. And I just went, what the fuck is he doing? There's 5 of these cunts with machetes, and there's fucking me with a baseball bat and him. And they're speaking a language I don't understand, and they're screaming the way the Arabs and these races, they shout loud, like when they get animated, and they're like, blah, blah, blah. And I am sitting there going, if he goes, these guys have got fucking meat cleavers, I am fucked. And this goes on for about 3 minutes, and I have no idea. And I'm trying to act hard, going, getting myself. And then he just calmed down to shake hands, and they walk out. And he opens the gate, he opens the chain again, and walks out. And I was like, "What the fuck was that about?" He's like, they owed me money, and they wouldn't pay. So I told him you were a cage fighter, you want to kill him. And I was going,
yeah, man.
It was funny.
You were well implicated.
Have you been to Malta just the once, or have you been over there? Gallo got you over again?
I was over there twice. I had 2 fights over there, and amazing experience. As I say, I'm into ancient history and stuff like you are.
Valencia is unbelievable, isn't it?
I literally, the night before I fight is always a very spiritual time for me. Like I go walking out in wherever, and I went walking up that coastline, and I noticed in the sea. So even a couple of meters beneath the sea level, there's all these like geometric straight like carvings in the ocean bed. And I was like, and I asked someone about them, like, and they were like, oh, they were done by the Romans. And I was like, but sure, like it's under the sea, you know? And so they were like, even whenever I said it to them, they were like, yeah. It's under the sea level, like, you know. And but then like I went walking further up the coast on a different day, and I found like basically like almost like doorways or doorways, purely straight angles, right angles, like carved into just the rock, but going into nowhere. It's like a window or door that is just, you know, it's you can't walk through it. It's just carved into a mountain. And so I seen all these different things around the place. And then I started looking up, because I was big into ancient history and mythology and stuff. So I kind of looked into Malta, and Malta is one of them places, man. It's there's a lot of
special
ancient, it's definitely even where Centurion Fight Championships it was in a old prison. And I don't know when prison must have been 1,000 years old at least, or something, like amazing building, like. But there's definitely a lot going on in that island, man. It's a special place. I'd love to go if I had more time. I'd love to just, because it's so built up, hotels and you know, like I'd love to just go and actually have a look at these ancient sites, you know.
I love Valletta. The way you're walking through Valletta. Did you go to Valletta?
No, like I was on the coast. Apart from going to the venue.
On the coast as well. But Valletta's got these massive, massive gates from the 10th century, 9th, whatever it is. And the streets are still the same. The houses, the buildings. It's just, you can see, like, wow, this is a big, massive port. There's a gate. There's massive gates that stop. You're just going, geez.
No, I have seen that, actually. I have seen that place. And I'll tell you what, you can also see there, like, because it's so, they knock condos down and build new condos every year. And like, but what you can see is the levels of technology there. So you can see that the Romans were there. If you literally, like, you could just be there looking at a bridge, and you can see buildings built on top of one side, and you can see the megalithic stones at the bottom, massive stones. Then you can see the Roman building on top of it.
It's like a time capsule.
Yeah, and then you can see the modern day stuff, buildings on top of that again. Like, you know, it's, you can read,
what freaked me out about it was the number of deaths on the road. You see those wee statues every like 20 meters, 10 meters. There's statues of like, they're very Catholic oriented country, and there's just like memorials of people who've died littered the streets everywhere. It's like, me, this country is the size of like, it's 26 miles long or something. It's tiny, and then the people that died on the roads, it freaked me out. I was driving the road shitting myself because it's crazy. Like,
it is.
It's such a good thing. But listen, we'll leave it there, mate. That was an unbelievable chat, nearly 2 hours.
Wicked, man. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that, Ben. Thank you very much for having me. Let me talk to you and pick your mind.
Yeah, no, it was great chatting to you, man. Like, you're a funny guy. I love it.
We'll do it again. I think you're
man.
definitely one of the guys. I've only done 6, but I'm only doing this because I want to talk to people. I'm bored in lockdown, and I decided, you know something? What I've learned is, if you just meet someone in the street, you don't have a full meaningful conversation. But if you actually schedule a time, say, listen, do you want to have a chat about something? And then just let the conversation organically grow. You get
go where it goes. It is.
I would love to do this again sometime.
Yeah, man, anytime, man. Pleasure to be on here, like chatting to you. Like, I haven't chatted to you properly, like at all, like apart from social media, like, and I like to see your face, you know.
Actually, it was Andy Chapman. Andy Chapman said to me, I said, give me names of who you'd like to talk me to talk to. He was like, I would love to talk to Ben. And I was like, you're not going to believe this. And the show was like, he's number 2 on my list to ask people, the people I want to ask. Because I just know, I knew by what you put out on social media and how you speak, it's like 2 of us will gel. We'll have a good talk all about things. So, mate, thank you very much.
All right. Peace, love.